So I'm writing my story to be published in a book. And the first time I even thought about doing that was years and years ago when I was on a city bus driving to pick up my son from daycare, I think. And I had this book in my hand that I took out from the library from Shania Twain. Um, Her story very much resonated for me because she had a very public, um, heartbreaking story of betrayal, and she shared that on Oprah about how what a gut punch it was to be blindsided like that. So I started reading her book, and in the foreword of the book, she makes it a point to tell the reader your story is important. Everybody's story is important to be told. Even if you're not going to publish in a book, make sure to write it down. Make sure to share your story because your story can help people. And until then, I was like so convinced that one day I'll write a book about my husband because he is my hero. Like, he is really, in my eyes, the embodiment of a courageous soul who went through hell and then turned that into a paradise for his kids. Like, really gave something that he never had to our children. Um, so, like, for me, his story was worth telling. And when when I read her words, it was like, really? Like, my story has any point to be told? Like, it didn't make sense to me till that moment. And it was a seed that was planted that maybe, like, I don't know, like, I don't have anything interesting to share. But because that seed was planted, suddenly, as the days went by, I started realizing so many stories and so many interesting things that I have to share. And I really can write a book. And she makes it a point to tell the reader that we are so blindsided by this thing um, of best-selling books, thinking that if you're not a bestseller, then your book is not worth being published. No, there are millions and there are 7 billion people in the world, right? And every person has their audience who are interested in their kind of story. So even if you don't want to go for the goal of being a bestseller, it's still important for you to share your story, even if it's not for the world, even if it's just for your family, to leave your legacy for them to know about your life, like to understand what you went through and to learn from it, and to understand what, um, like, kind of like what came before them. Like, for children, I used to long so badly to hear from my grandparents about the Holocaust, but they were so traumatized they couldn't share anything. Like, my grandmother used to say, I can't talk about it. It just makes me have nightmares. So I understand that thing that children deserve to know about where they come from, like what happened before they were born, like to learn from that and to cherish that. So at first I thought about writing a book just for my kids, just like to have them know what went on behind the curtains before we left. And now that I'm actually doing a book, I had a lot of mental blockages because growing up in Tosh, I really loved writing. Writing was my respite. I used to write poetry. I used to dream of being a novelist, a Haredi novelist, of course, like to write in Yiddish Licht in magazines that are Yiddish speaking magazines. So in the journey that I went through leaving Tosh and leaving the Hasidic world, there was so much pain um, connected to writing because I had to abruptly cut off that career of songwriting because there wasn't any um, chance for me to write a song after leaving the Hasidic system, because in the outside world you can't just steal somebody's tune and write words to it. Like, you either make your own tune or you pay for them or you get permission from them. So writing became such a painful association for me. So it took years for me to just figure out a way where I don't trigger that pain, whether I record myself on my phone instead of writing, or I write notes, whatever it is, like not notes on my phone instead of like pen and paper, whatever helps me at the moment. But the real thing that I want to share now is how much your story can help somebody. So I spoke to somebody last week and they were like sharing with me how they're at a crossroads with their job. They want to switch job, but there's a training required for the job that they want to do, and it's like, I don't know, 6 months. I don't remember exactly the amount of time, and they feel like it's going to be a waste of time if they don't get hired. They're not guaranteed to be hired. And I explained to them that for us growing up Hasidic, it's a whole different ball game. The concept of a waste of time. It's not just like a regular person in the world. When you talk to them about a waste of time, it's like some people take it more seriously, some people less, but like whatever. Like, I wasted a whole year dating somebody and it turns out that they were not the right person for me. Like, it really can be painful, but not like existential pain. And for us, we were raised to believe that this world is not to be enjoyed, that this world is just a preparation for paradise. And every second, at least that's what I was told, every second that you waste in this temporary world, you are losing out joy and eternal life. So basically, every moment has to be filled with serving God, and that's how I accumulate good things in paradise. And if I miss out on that time, I'm basically losing eternal joy for temporary joy. And that was emphasized a lot in my upbringing. So for us, because like somebody like me who was so serious about everything that I was taught, it's really became such a sacrifice to not enjoy life, to really be 24/7 focused as much as humanly possible on serving God. And I didn't allow myself to live. I didn't allow myself to breathe like freely, to know that I'm allowed to enjoy life. So a waste of time has a whole different baggage to it and a whole bunch of triggers to it when it comes to an upbringing like mine's, because you're like this pain